Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to be discussing why Pharrell collaborating with Tyler the Creator at Louis Vuitton is very important. Could we potentially see Tyler the Creator as the creative director of Louis Vuitton 10 years from now? Maybe. Tyler's marketing and merchandising genius, his complete understanding of the power of imagery, and his pre-existing contributions to fashion at such a young age have already gotten him to this stepping stone. It is very highly likely that we will see history repeat itself 10 years from now, and this capsule collection is only just the beginning. If you're interested in hearing my thoughts and opinions on this capsule collection backed by a little bit of history, then make sure you keep watching. So in this video, I'm going to be speaking directly to Louis Vuitton fans and collectors who may not be that familiar with who Tyler the Creator is, and specifically why we as collectors should be appreciating this collection. If you're a huge Tyler the Creator fan, you might be a little bit bored, but this is what I'm going to be discussing in this video. Who is Tyler the Creator? I'm not going to speak so much on his impact on music. There is plenty of content out there on YouTube if you want to learn more about it, but I do want to talk about the impact of marketing and merchandising on his personal brand and how that has gotten him to where he is today. I'm going to talk a little bit about his style evolution and his career in fashion to date, as well as some of his previous work that he's done with Louis Vuitton. Very important though, his relationship with Pharrell and how Pharrell has gotten him to this point with this capsule collection in 2024. And then I really want to talk about how Pharrell is really amplifying these creative voices and truly doing his part to return the favor by potentially ushering in the future guard. Marc Jacobs gave Pharrell his shot in 2004 by asking him to collaborate on a pair of sunglasses. At that time, Pharrell was only 31 years old. And here we are 20 years later at the age of 50, Pharrell is now the creative director of Louis Vuitton. Could Tyler the Creator be a future creative director at Louis Vuitton 5, 10, 20 years from now? It is definitely possible, and we are going to talk about it. Okay, we are going to quickly start with a general synopsis of who is Tyler the Creator if you have never heard of him.
Does it irritate you when people refer to you only as a rapper?
Yes.
Why?
I'm much more than that. I just like making stuff.
His full name is Tyler Gregory Okonma, and I know I'm probably butchering his last name. Okonma. It's not really said a lot in interviews, so it was hard to find a true source of the pronunciation, but he's definitely using his full name a lot more now, attached to what he's working on, and stepping a little bit away from that identity of being solely Tyler the Creator. He was born on March 6th of 1991, so he is 33 years old. He was born and raised in California by a single mother, and he is definitely mainly known as a rapper, even though I would not put him in that box. He is an all-around musician, might even lean more towards pop these days, but he is so much more than that. He is a producer, a singer-songwriter, a director, an actor, an artist, a fashion designer. He truly is a Renaissance man. He does it all. He is just a very creative person, and really always has been. He gained recognition not only for his unique music and fashion sense, but also his personality, becoming a prominent figure in pop culture. He really does have an amazing over-the-top personality, and I do think that that is what really has set him apart. Tyler emerged in the late 2000s as the co-founder of the music collective Odd Future, and has since released several successful solo albums such as Goblin, Flower Boy, Igor, and Call Me If You Get Lost. He not only was a founding member of Odd Future, but he's really known as the ringleader of the group. When it first started out, it was not just about the music, it was also about the art in general, and his original idea was actually for a magazine.
My original idea was a magazine which included everything I was into, whether it was music, art, movies, clothes, colors.
Outside of music, he has made significant contributions to fashion with his own brands, Golf Wang and Fleur. But of course, I want to mention several of the notable awards he has won within his music career. He has 2 Grammys, both for Best Rap Album in 2020 for Igor.
And the Grammy goes to Igor and Tyler the Creator. Yes.
One, to my mother, you did a great job raising this guy.
And in 2022 for Call Me If You Get Lost. He has 3 BET Hip Hop Awards, a Brit Award, and an MTV Video Music Award.
The VMA for Best New Artist goes to
Tyler the Creator.
I wanted this since I was 9. I'm about to cry.
Again, if you want to know more about Tyler's impact on music in general, there is so much great content out there in YouTube. I highly recommend you go check it out. I am personally a fan of his music. I think through all of the different eras, there is definitely something for everyone, but the newest stuff is much more appealing to a broader audience. What I do want to talk about is his impact on marketing and merch. Tyler did not go to college. He went to community college for about a month, but it is known that he worked at Starbucks, I believe, for several years, and he also worked at FedEx for a couple months before quitting. He has no traditional education, however, it is obvious that creativity runs in his veins. Odd Future were among the first collectives to really be born in the era of social media, which really amplified the trajectory of their entire career. I definitely want to give credit to his management, the Clancys, Christian Clancy and Kelly Clancy, because there is no doubt that they played a large role in helping build this sort of marketing and merchandising structure that has made them so successful. But they have gone on record really stating that they are really the facilitators of the group's ideas. So I would definitely feel comfortable stating that Odd Future is just a marketing genius as a whole creative collective. They started out giving away their music for free, basically, tons of music for free, and they were really making money off of their merch, all kinds of merch, t-shirts, hats, little accessories.
I don't want to sound like a fucking dick or however anyone perceives it, but like, I don't sell records, I sell socks. Like,
they truly saw how important lifestyle branding and content was in this era of social media. So important, if not more important than the music itself. By elevating their merch, and when I talk about merch, I'm talking about concert merch, for example, that you are familiar with getting when you go to a show, you go to the merch stands, you buy the t-shirts that say that you went to the concert. There's nothing new there, right? But Odd Future made it into a brand, not just sold at their events. They had pop-up shops when they would go on tour.
The latest development from a gang of Los Angeles rappers called Odd Future is slightly different. They're giving away their music and charging large amounts of money for merchandise.
Is this the future of rock and roll?
They eventually opened their own store on Fairfax. They sold to retailers. They truly made Odd Future at the time into a lifestyle brand that eventually evolved into his other brands, a streetwear brand, 𝒞𝒽𝒶𝓅𝓉𝒹, and now his higher end brand, 𝐿𝑒𝓉'𝓈. But at the time, there were not a lot of music artists doing this. So again, there's always been artist merch, and I think they definitely followed in the footsteps, for example, of Wu-Tang and their clothing brand WuWear. Even Rocawear could be another example, but none of that is still around today the way that Odd Future has evolved and Tyler has evolved his brand. With the OF merch, they really realized that the logo could be just as important as the artists behind it. So I have a personal connection and interest in this brand. I've mentioned before that I've worked in fashion now for about 15 years, mainly in buying and merchandising roles, but between the years of, I believe it was 2012 and 2014, I was actually buying all branded streetwear apparel for a retailer, and that included Odd Future, and I was really there for the phenomenon of these mall streetwear brands and just how successful the brand was doing at the time and what they were doing with it. So I have a personal connection to following the success of this and what it's evolved into, which is why I truly am a fan of what they've done and their strategy and where they are today, and so excited about this collaboration with Louis Vuitton. Now, merch and building brands is such an important part of many artists' strategy, especially because they don't make as much money from the music itself. Building that brand and that merchandise is super important. Now let's talk about Tyler, the Creator's style evolution and the overall career he's had in fashion that has gotten him to this point. His style has definitely evolved over the years, reflecting on his growth as an artist and an individual. Initially, he was very known for his skater boy roots, oversized tie-dye t-shirts, Supreme hoodies, the Supreme camp hats. I definitely want to mention Tyler, the Creator, and Odd Future's impact on Supreme during that time that they were really blowing up. So Supreme was always a popular brand. I myself moved to New York in 2005, and Supreme was popular in the metropolis areas, New York, LA, etc. People that really knew the brand. I mean, they still had people camping out for some of the releases, the sneaker releases with Nike, etc. But Tyler and the rest of Odd Future wearing the brand on all kinds of stages around the world, I really truly believe made it more of a household name and created sort of this hype beast era that we are all familiar with now. Again, not saying that it did not have the popularity before him, but I really do believe that he revitalized and heightened the brand. Mentioning it in songs, wearing it in videos, wearing it on stage. If you hadn't heard of the brand, weren't familiar with it because you weren't close to one of those metropolis areas, now you were interested in learning more about it, and then the internet was able to really amplify it. Mid-career, his style really shifted towards more sophisticated menswear staples. I'm talking pleated trousers, poplin shirts, sweater vests. He still maintained his playful side with wild prints and lots of color. He's always loved color, but it definitely took on a more refined approach. And then in recent years, his look has become even more dapper and even more tailored. His style transformation became more pronounced with albums like Flower Boy and Igor. And of course, as he started gaining more popularity and gaining more money, he's started to incorporate a lot more luxury accessories into his look. He's got some pretty insane diamond chains, started collecting high-end designer pieces, and then incorporating them into his wardrobe as well. I would say his style has definitely become more polished, incorporating these elements of luxury fashion, but he still retains his unique flair for bold colors and eccentric patterns. There's definitely still that element of blending skater culture with this grandpa aesthetic. And overall, his style is just very unique from many of his counterparts in the music industry specifically. I believe in 2021, he also won GQ's Most Stylish Man Award as voted by the people, but he's been mentioned in many like Most Stylish Men and things like that over the years. Overall, his evolution went from this skater boy with a penchant for streetwear, where he started his journey as this brand owner of this Odd Future merch that evolved into 𝒢𝓉'𝓈, which was more of a legitimate streetwear brand. And now he's got his 𝒢𝓉'𝓈 brand, which you can really tell he is trying to elevate and make his stamp on fashion. Mind you, he is also only 33 years old at this point. I'm going to pull up my phone and read this Instagram post that he posted on the day of his collection release. I'll also put it up on the screen, but it was basically summing up his resume and his stepping stones to how he got to this point, because of course nobody can do anything these days without being criticized. We constantly feel like we have to prove ourselves, which is unfortunate. But he wrote, I started with stencils on pro clubs in 2004, then iron-ons for Blockshead in 2006. Few fuck lame prints in 2008. Jasper would ask me to draw on his hoodies and shoes. I never declined. Then Odd Future items got cracking in 2011. Then Vans trusted me. I started and dialed in on 𝒢𝓉'𝓈 in 2013, which led to an ill Converse relationship still ongoing. Started working on 𝒢𝓉'𝓈 in 2019 after Lacoste gave me a shot. 𝒢𝓉'𝓈 finally released in 2021, and I'm still perfecting it. All that preparation went to work when I got the opportunity at Louis Vuitton to do this collection. I was not nervous. I did not feel pressure. I was beyond ready. I am very proud of how it came out. On top of everything, I got to use my friends in it and the same production crew I've used on everything since the Yonkers video. I've been making clothing alongside music since I was 13. Also, I was just reminiscing with my husband last night. I was talking about how I was putting together all of the information for this video, and he remembered where we were when we first saw the Yonkers video, which really propelled him into fame in his music. And we both lived in New York at the time. We were at a friend's apartment in Brooklyn, and her boyfriend, who she's no longer with, is really into hip hop music. And I remember he showed all of us the video, and we were like, wow, this kid has talent. I mean, his voice is so deep and profound that it always stuck with me, but combined with the imagery that he puts together with his music, you can just tell how creative he is and that he was going to be something big. So I want to talk a little bit further about some of the things that he mentioned in that post. I mentioned that this all started with the Odd Future merch. He mentioned Vans. So Vans collaborated with Odd Future in 2016 on a range of exclusive donut print sneakers. Donuts really are the mascot of Odd Future. If you're not familiar with it, it's like the OF shaped in a donut. in many different forms. That's been a big crux of the logo for a while, among other like sketches and things that Tyler has drawn over the years. There's been cats, but the donut has always stuck around. I would go so far as to say that it's part of the mascot. Again, that Odd Future merch evolved into his brand 𝒞𝒽𝒾𝓃𝒹𝓈, and then he started collaborating with Converse in 2017 with his 𝒞𝒽𝒾𝓃𝒹𝓈 brand. This led to the creation of a lot of limited edition footwear, honestly a lot of different styles that they've done together, and that is still going on today. And then 𝒞𝒽𝓈 started, which is now I guess just known as Fleur. The first collection for Fleur came out in 2021. Tyler had previously collaborated with Lacoste in 2019. I believe it was technically with his 𝒞𝒽𝒾𝓃𝒹𝓈 brand though, but I think the like aesthetic of it and the price point of it was definitely leaning towards his Fleur brand, and they've recently collaborated again, Lacoste and his Fleur brand in 2023. In 2021, around the release of Fleur, he also collaborated with the luxury luggage brand 𝒞𝒽𝒾𝓃𝒹𝓈. They produced trunks, luggage pieces, some hand carry pieces, little accessories ranging in price from $200 to $3,000. So he is not afraid of playing in these price points. They were all pastel hued, really cute. I actually really liked a lot of these pieces. Again, they're just pretty pricey. Most recently in 2023, he also collaborated on a blanket with Pendleton. So again, I'm just prefacing how much he's done within his own brands and how many brands he's collaborated with, and not just like lower inexpensive brands like Vans and Converse, but also these higher end brands like 𝒞𝒽𝒾𝓃𝒹𝓈 and Pendleton. In my opinion, Tyler is the epitome of a creative director. He understands the overall visual artistry and the power of imagery itself. From the beginning of Odd Future, he is said to have been the creative behind the cover art. He would do all kinds of sketching, working on their clothing, all of their merch. Really, at the age of 33, his resume is like 10 times more stacked than Pharrell's was at the point of his first collaboration with Louis Vuitton, which I think is really interesting. And I really wish that people would quit acting like Tyler the Creator came out of nowhere and has no business doing this collaboration, because again, just because you don't know about him doesn't mean that he is not worthy of this collaboration. And as I pointed out, I think he's done a lot more to get to this place than some of his predecessors. And I think because he's where he's at so young, we have so much more we're going to be seeing from him in the future. Now let's quickly talk about Tyler the Creator's relationship with Pharrell. Tyler has specifically cited Pharrell as a major influence on his music, even his life, since the age of around 11 or 12. His influence on his music is very apparent, and he speaks very often about how big of a fan he was of NERD. He also specifically mentions that Pharrell is a mentor to him.
I didn't have a father, I didn't have a big brother, I didn't have big cousins, so as a kid, since 10, 11, Pharrell's who I looked at.
Tyler has mentioned that Pharrell's guidance and advice led him to focus more on his music and change his approach towards his artistry in general. I would also say that although it's not explicitly stated in interviews, I mean, I watched a bunch of interviews. Tyler has so many interviews, it's impossible to keep track of anything. I didn't find any specific references to him talking about Pharrell's influence on his fashion or his style, but I do think that it's quite obvious that Pharrell's style has inherently impacted Tyler. Maybe not trend for trend, but they are very similar in a lot of ways, starting with sort of that skate streetwear culture, starting their streetwear brands, and then evolving their aesthetic to include luxury brands like Pharrell with Chanel. But overall, they both just have this sense of individualism. They're not paying attention to what everybody else is doing around them. They are truly doing their own thing, which I believe is why I love both of them so much. They are really just themselves. You can just tell that Pharrell is a critical mentor and friend to Tyler the Creator, which I really love, and I love that he's given him this opportunity.
I don't know if he's here, but I really want to thank Pharrell Williams. Growing up feeling left of center to a lot of stuff that I saw on TV, that man has allowed me to be comfortable with myself and has opened up doors that you guys cannot imagine. So thank you, P. I love y'all.
I also want to mention that they both worked on the Grinch movie, which has an amazing soundtrack, and it is one of my favorite children's movies. We watch it constantly during Christmas time with my son. If you haven't seen that version of the Grinch, you should definitely check it out. So I say all that to say that Tyler and Pharrell have always had a great relationship. I couldn't find exactly when they met, but I would put it on at around 2011 based on a lot of the stuff that I read. I actually read that Pharrell wanted to sign 𝒢𝓊𝓎𝓈 after he was introduced to them, but they had already been signed or managed by somebody else at that point, so he was too late. But Pharrell believed in Tyler the Creator and 𝒢𝓊𝓎𝓈 and what they were doing from the very beginning. So let's get into Pharrell and some of the important work that he's doing at Louis Vuitton to amplify creative voices, specifically Black creative voices as well. He truly is returning the favor or opportunity that he was once given that could potentially be ushering in a future guard. You never know. So I really want to encourage you to check out the recent interview between Pharrell and Marc Jacobs. It was all about collaboration. It's up on YouTube by System Stories, and I think you can truly see the admiration that Pharrell has for Marc Jacobs and how Marc Jacobs truly laid out the blueprint for the brand and why collaboration is so important. Marc Jacobs truly opened the door for many creatives that worked with the brand, and specifically Pharrell, which he mentions in the interview. And I'm gonna insert some clips so that you can see kind of what I'm talking about, but obviously I don't want to take the full interview. Definitely go check it out. Pharrell specifically calls out the opportunities that Marc Jacobs gave both himself as well as Kanye West.
I still can't believe it. Like, just like looking back at the amount of opportunities that you afforded me. I mean, you did the same thing for Ye.
He mentions that for himself, Pharrell, music really was the skeleton key, which is something very similar to Tyler the Creator and what we've seen in his career, but that music then opened the door for him to work on all of these other things that he was truly passionate about. And it was, again, something very similar story to Kanye West.
Music has been great to me. It continues to be the skeleton key that opens every door, 100%. But one of the doors that it opened was like meeting you, and having you embrace me in that way and be so supportive and be so generous. Like, it only started happening after you did that for me.
Marc Jacobs was putting rappers in campaigns, which a lot of other brands weren't doing at the time, specifically luxury brands. And Marc Jacobs specifically calls out that like there were no motivations for this back then. He was really just working with people that he felt were important and deserved a voice. There were no ulterior motives like sometimes we see in today's day and age. It feels forced. It doesn't feel natural. And back then, it really was just like felt natural to them.
Maybe that's part of what was special, was that I was in a position of power here, and with an open mind, that's what I saw as being right and interesting and cool, as opposed to a vulture later on looking back and saying, how can I use that?
So now Pharrell is in that position of power, and you can tell that he knows that, which is great. He mentions specifically that he has a responsibility now in his job to hold that door open for others. And I think this is a perfect example of what we are seeing here with the Tyler the Creator capsule collection.
I have a responsibility. My job is to hold the door. Anybody watch Game of Thrones? Hodor. That's my job.
There are so many other great collaborations that I think we will see coming up from Pharrell. I'm personally so excited to see what he does. I want to see Pharrell and Nigo work together. I know Nigo has worked with Louis Vuitton in the past, but Nigo and Pharrell have done so much together that it just makes sense that they would collaborate at Louis Vuitton together, and that it would be very different from whatever Nigo did with Virgil in the past. I think we will see more from Tyler the Creator. I think we'll see additional collections, especially based on the performance, and I believe this collection was very well received. I'm pretty sure majority of it sold out, so I would not be surprised if they did a follow-up capsule collection together. I think we will definitely see a collaboration with Cynthia Liu of Cactus Plant Flea Market. That's a pretty obvious one. I feel like Pharrell has so much up his sleeve, and I cannot wait to see what else he does. He truly is here to carry on Marc Jacobs' vision, and he understands the importance of what Marc built at Louis Vuitton. And that is why I have always been a fan of Pharrell at Louis Vuitton, outside of the fact that I am personally a huge Pharrell fan. I really would love for Louis Vuitton collectors, people that are passionate about Louis Vuitton, that aren't like as much into these young people coming in at the brand, to just stop and support these creatives. Stop criticizing every single thing that Pharrell does. Let's just pay attention and see that Pharrell is really doing what Marc Jacobs set out to do. And I just love that. Now let's specifically talk about Louis Vuitton by Tyler Okonma, or also known as Tyler the Creator, and some of the influences on his collection with Louis Vuitton. I do want to mention that Tyler the Creator did previously work with Louis Vuitton. He composed the soundtrack for the Fall/Winter 2022 collection. This was the final collection that Virgil Abloh had designed for Louis Vuitton before his unexpected death in November of 2021. Tyler has stated his admiration for Virgil Abloh and his desire to pay tribute to him. He also expressed his appreciation for Abloh's support and contributions, especially during the early stages of his luxury brand 𝒞𝒽𝒾𝓄. Now let's quickly talk about the collaboration itself. I'm not going to dive super deep into this like I did in the Fall/Winter 2024 collection, because honestly, I can just talk for hours about this stuff, you guys, and I want to try to keep it clear and concise. But I do specifically want to point out the Tyler and specifically Fleur influences on this collection, because I know many of you might not be as familiar with him and exactly what's going on with his brands. One thing that I really loved about this capsule collection that Tyler mentioned in his post that I read earlier is you can just tell that Tyler has always controlled every aspect on the things that he's worked on. You can hear this from a lot of the interviews that he's done in the past, but from conception to writing to direction, casting, the people that he works with, every aspect of it, you can tell that he is involved. He also specifically mentioned that the people he brought in to work on this and to shoot a lot of the imagery, even star in the imagery, are people that he's worked with for a very long time, since the very beginning of that Yonkers video debut, and he specifically calls this out, which I think is very cool. Let's get into the influences in this collection. First, you have the hand-drawn monogram, which is called the 𝒞𝒽𝒾𝓃𝒾𝓃𝒾𝓃. I don't know exactly how you pronounce it, but let's go with 𝒞𝒽 monogram. Tyler has always drawn and sketched a lot of aspects of the imagery in his collections, especially starting in Odd Future, but also just like the artwork for his albums, drawing on his other bandmates' clothing, etc. Drawing and sketching is a big aspect of his creativity, so I think hand drawing the monogram really makes sense in this case.
I used to customize my own clothes. Like, I used to buy Letterman jackets and get big Sharpies, put like upside down crosses on them, or big donuts. Every pair of shoes I had some form of writing on it. I still draw my shoes to this day.
He also incorporated pastel colors and then the chocolate and vanilla versions, as they are called. We know Tyler loves sweets from interviews. We know he often wears pastels, uses pastels in his collection, specifically in Fleur. Something very interesting about this monogram is that we do not often see, it is very rare that Louis Vuitton lets people mess with the monogram itself or add additional shapes. There were 2 additional shapes added to this monogram. We recently saw in the Game On collection. Actually, let me show you. What I mean by this is when they add an additional shape, like how you see the heart added to the monogram, Tyler added 2 additional shapes to the monogram. There was the flower, or the Fleur, and then there was the dog, which is an Airedale Terrier, that were both added within the monogram. These are obviously significant to him because obviously the flower, he has a brand called Fleur. It's a part of the logo as well. And then an Airedale Terrier named Daryl that is actually the mascot of his Fleur brand, and it is used throughout the website, the clothing. He even previously made an Airedale Terrier dog bag within his own brand before recreating it for Louis Vuitton, as we saw in this collection. The pastels, the bringing in of color in general is obviously a nod to Murakami, and I've seen a lot of negative commentary on TikTok in my own comments about people being like, he's knocking off Murakami, etc. And I don't understand truly where that negativity comes from. People are allowed to be influenced by some of their favorite previous collections. We would all love a repeat of the colorful Murakami. I am attracted to anything Louis Vuitton puts out with color. I think incorporating the pastels here is very true to not only Tyler, but also his brands, and being influenced by Murakami is completely fine with me. So Tyler, the Creator, does collect trunks, and there was an interview he did with the Rob Report, I believe it was, where he mentioned that his initial interest in the trunks was piqued by the colorful prints of the Takashi Murakami collaboration with Louis Vuitton. So I think it totally makes sense outside of that he would incorporate color into his design and into the monogram. And personally, I love it. I think it looks adorable, and I love pastels and color. Another thing interesting that he specifically called out was the wavy soles, and wavy motifs have been used throughout his Fleur brand. So I think it makes sense that he brought that into this collection as well. We specifically see it on the soles of these like derby shoes. Interestingly enough, I was also watching an interview between Tyler, the Creator, and Kerwin Frost, where they're talking about all the shoes that he's done, and he points out two what he calls church shoes in a light blue and a light pink that he says were never actually produced. I'll insert the clip if I can find it, but it's almost like he recreated those shoes in this collection here with the wavy sole. So I thought that was interesting that he's tried to create a similar version of that shoe in the past that didn't actually come out. He was finally able to release it here.
These like church shoes I did 2 years ago that never came out.
And they're nice, they're light.
Yeah, I wanted to make them light, so like they're still looking nice, but you could go
walking around
hiking.
With
I mentioned the Airedale Terrier being the mascot for Fleur. His name is Daryl. Tyler has specifically called this out on the Fleur Instagram. This pastel blue is Fleur's signature color. We saw a few pieces of that blue within the collection. This preppy golf aesthetic, and also the fact that he uses the word golf a lot, which people have asked him why he uses that word, and he said that he likes the way the four-letter word looks on merch that basically influenced the brand. But we see this whole aspect of golf within this collection.
But you hate golf, but you put golf as the theme.
That word looks sick on stuff, dude. I don't know why. Like, this hat is so sick to me.
He mentioned that his favorite piece in the collection was this travel chess set with these really cool surreal looking pieces that he hand drew, which is really cool. I think like creatively this set is really a collector's piece if you can afford the $18,000 price point. My favorite piece in the collection that was not produced was the waffle and butter bag. They also incorporated this into slide sandals, but when I first saw the waffle and butter bag, it actually immediately made me think of Pharrell. One of the first, actually the first piece I ever bought from Pharrell was this reversible waffle chocolate hoodie that I still own. I've texted my dad and asked him to go through my bins and find it. He told me I could come over and look for it myself, but I specifically was like, I need this bag because it ties back to this Pharrell ice cream hoodie that I have. I also have the hat in the waffle pattern. Somebody later found a picture of Tyler, the Creator, wearing that exact hoodie that I also own. And then I also saw in interviews, I forget which interview it was, but Tyler, the Creator, was asked like what he would want if he was stranded on an island, and he said syrup. And then he also mentioned that waffles might be one of his favorite foods.
Favorite food?
I love syrup. So I guess like waffles and shit, bacon is cool.
There's the connection between waffles and butter. I love like kitschy, fun things like that. So I'm very sad that they didn't produce that bag. It would have been such a collector's piece, but also personally something that I would have wanted to own. But then my other like second favorite thing was the eclair charm. And I'll tell you what I got from the eclair charm was, I mentioned before that part of like one of the main Odd Future logos or mascots was the donut. And I think it's super cool that now Tyler is collaborating with a French brand, Louis Vuitton, and instead of making like a donut charm, they made a French eclair charm. Kind of ties back to the donut. I just thought that was such a tie back to Odd Future, especially the days when I really remember it. And like I mentioned before, was part of buying this as a big brand for the company I worked for. I just thought this was the coolest little detail. It really just reminds me of Tyler, the Creator, and like how far he's come. And I love, you know, donuts, so who wouldn't want an 𝒞𝓄 besides the fact that it has an insane price tag. Overall, my point is that this collection perfectly combines Tyler, Fleur, the codes of his Fleur brand with the house codes of Louis Vuitton. And personally, I love it. I'm not sure what there is to hate about it. Regardless of if you're a fan of Tyler and the things that he's done, even if you know nothing about it, I also just think it's really cute and fun. So you don't have to be a Tyler the Creator fan to want to own something from this collection, but if you are a Tyler the Creator fan, I think it makes it that much more important, that much more collectible. Last but not least, the last thing I really want to touch on is answering the question, could Tyler the Creator be a future creative director for Louis Vuitton 5, 10, 20 years from now? I don't know how long, but the answer in my opinion is yes. I am 36 years old, so I am 3 years older than Tyler the Creator. He is 33 at the point of his first collaboration with Louis Vuitton. I want to compare that to two of his predecessors here, Pharrell Williams and Virgil Abloh, just to give you an idea of sort of how far I think he is ahead of some of his predecessors. Virgil Abloh was born in 1980. The collective that he was a part of, 𝒢𝓊𝓎𝓈, started around 2010. So he was about 30 years old at that point. He officially launched his first brand, Pyrex Vision, in 2012. So he would have been 32 at the time. And then that was rebranded and eventually evolved to Off-White in 2013. So he would have been 33 at the point when he launched this luxury brand. Additionally, when we think about big collaborations that really put Virgil Abloh on the map, we definitely have to talk about the 2017 collaboration of the 10 with Nike. This was in 2017, so Virgil Abloh would have been 37 at the time. And then finally, he was named artistic director of Louis Vuitton in 2018, so he was 38 years old when he evolved into that position. If we look at Pharrell Williams, he started his first brand, BBC, with Nigo in 2003, and then ice cream came around in 2004. So he was about 30, 31 at the time. This is also around the time when he first collaborated with Louis Vuitton, so he was 31. In 2014, Pharrell started a long-term partnership with Adidas, so he was 41 at that time. And then in 2019, he did this big luxury collaboration with Chanel, of course. In 2019, he would have been 46 years old. Now, fast forward 2023, he is announced as the creative director for Louis Vuitton at the age of 50, which he doesn't look a day over 30 in my opinion. But again, I'm just comparing and contrasting here so you can see where Tyler's at now and why I think he has the potential to be a future creative director of Louis Vuitton if ever given that opportunity. Tyler really started focusing on his Odd Future merch in 2011. He was only 20 years old at the time. He evolved that eventually into 𝒁𝓄 in 2013, so he would have been 22 years old. Then he elevated that brand to this more luxury brand, Fleur, in 2021 at the age of 30. Now in 2024, at the age of 33, he's collaborating for the first time with Louis Vuitton. And let me remind you, he has other big collaborations under his belt. He has a multi-year deal with Converse that he started in 2017, so he would have been only 26 years old at the time. He's almost 10 years ahead of his predecessors. The only thing truly separating him in terms of like impact on fashion and trajectory from Virgil Abloh is a college education, which people love to focus on when talking about these creative director positions. Virgil Abloh had a bachelor's and a master's degree. I believe Pharrell did 2 years of college before dropping out. Tyler said, I think he went to community college for a month before dropping out. People are obsessed with this college education requirement, which is such a social construct. I do not agree with it. I would argue that Tyler has gotten a far more valuable education in the 15 years that he's been in the business and learning about marketing and branding than any college education could have ever provided him to get him to this position. So all in all, he does not have a traditional fashion background or any college education background in general, but this current role of creative director has really evolved. What he does have is a very clear vision, a very clear pulse on what's happening in current culture. And most importantly, he has influence, which is one of the top requirements, I would say, of a creative director at this moment in time. Whether or not we like it, influence equals dollar signs, and that is what companies are interested in. So in my opinion, Tyler, the Creator, Tyler Okonma, I'm sorry for saying his name wrong, is making all of the steps in the right direction to potentially take on a much bigger role in luxury fashion in the future. And personally, I am so excited to be watching all of this happen, and I am so excited to get to own a piece of this first collaboration capsule collection that we will definitely be looking back on 10 years from now. And again, be so happy that I have something like this in my collection. But everything I've covered in this video truly is the reason why I feel this is a very important collaboration for Pharrell, for Louis Vuitton, obviously for Tyler, the Creator, but why I think that you guys as collectors and fans of Louis Vuitton should also be supportive of it, and I hope you love it as much as I do. Hopefully you learned something new in this video, and I thank you so much for watching. If you watched all the way to the end, I truly appreciate it. I love making these videos and talking about the things I love. The next video that I post is going to hopefully be an unboxing of the items that I bought from this collection. I purchased 2 pieces. I have one of them right here. I cannot wait to open this, so I think I'm gonna have to do 2 separate videos. I'm gonna open this one first, and then I'll do another video once I get the second piece. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to see my upcoming unboxing, and please let me know in the comments how you feel about Tyler, the Creator, how you feel about this capsule collection at Louis Vuitton. Regardless of all of the stuff that I just pointed out, did you like it? Do you like the pastels? Do you like the hand-drawn monogram? What were your favorite pieces? Please let me know, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye bye.